Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Justin Lassick podcast. And in this episode, I'm interviewing my friend Miles Miller. Miles has been a longtime drummer for Sturgill Simpson. Their third record won a Grammy for Best Country Album, Sailor's Guide to Earth. And then this year, Sound and Fury was up for a Grammy for Best Rock Album. But Miles is a fantastic musician. He's a really sweet guy. And we talk about the art of music, developing it, talking about the tour, because I've been on tour with Sturgill and the band a couple times. And it's just a great conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the construct that is Justin Lassick, and this is the self that is Miles Miller, my friend, my artful soul friend, Miles Miller. Thanks for doing this, man. Welcome.
Hell to the yeah. I'm happy to be here.
What's your initial reaction to that song by Bobby? How long you been in a band with Bobby, and then what's your reaction to that song?
Geez, it's probably been let's do some quick math here. 2014, so 7 years or so.
Yeah.
7 years or so.
And then,
that song it's like I said earlier, if it's a Bobby song, it's gonna be funky. It's gonna be funky.
Yeah. Before we I want to go back to Bobby, but one thing I like to do is I try and ask a question in which the person that I'm talking to is really into it right away. That's like, because we're friends and pulling the curtain back. But I want to know what the funniest thing. It's Wally, right?
Wally, yeah.
What's the funniest thing Wally did in the last week?
Oh, geez.
And well, tell everybody who Wally is.
So Wally is my year and a half old black lab, and he's the goodest boy. All good boys. Except for this past week. Actually, it's funny. It literally happened just the other day. He's almost 2. He'll be 2 in June, and we've been trying to not put him up in his cage inside every time we go somewhere. Labs are known for high energy and just chew on everything. And that's dogs in general. But so we're trying to teach him to be a good boy while we're gone. And first couple days, maybe like Monday, Tuesday, we just went to Nashville and back. And, a few hours, we came home. Everything was good. He was a good boy. Slept on the couch. Next day, same thing. Couple days later, we leave him in here. We come back. I come home, and there's about 5 different shoes that he has just torn completely up. Oh. And actually these headphones that I was trying to use, these Bose headphones in a case, he had picked those up and set them on the couch, but didn't chew them up. And he kind of does that with some shoes anyway. Like he'll just pick a shoe up and bring it over to the couch and then like leave it there.
So how do you know it's not a statement?
Oh, it definitely is. It's a what's it called? A separation anxiety.
Yeah. So you've been working a little bit more with the pandemic going on because of not doing music touring, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what are you doing for work?
I'm a 100% handsome construction handyman.
Nice.
Shirt off. Now
like
is this hammering nails and stuff?
Is this something you're doing to kind of like keep the floor from falling out, like economically? Like, are you relying on it, or is it something that you're just doing because like, I should do something, I guess?
Well, not. It's a little bit of both. I don't want to completely drain all the money that I'm just, savings or whatever.
Yeah.
And not having shows. Yeah, I mean, everyone's on halt right now, for income in a way, because that's especially for just touring musicians. That's our bread and butter. So, and I've never ever been good at sitting still and doing nothing. So I've got to keep my mind occupied and my body occupied. And this is something that I'm, it's a new trade. I'm, learning different things about it. I've got basic knowledge of it. I built a shed myself.
Yeah.
And, but it's a grind, man. I wake up at 5 or 6 every morning, and I'm not home till, 3 or 4 or 5. So it's a full day.
Yeah. You're doing a little bit of construction right now, and you made that shed in the back. So when you I want to know what the difference is between making a shed and making a song. And I'm more so talking about a song you make on your own, because you do a lot of music development with other people, and
Right.
I work with Sturgill for a long time. But in this case, what's the difference between the shed, making that as a creative thing, and then making your own music?
It's a wonderful question, because I'm still learning what it takes to do both. I've spent my whole life in a musical mindset, but then, drums, I seem to gravitate towards that way because I don't know, I got gigs, I guess, and I didn't ever, it's easier that way to get a gig than like if you were an artist and you have to bill yourself as this thing and you have to have songs and be a product in a way. So like drums, I could play all kinds of songs with people. And
I want to clarify that. Sorry, because this is I'm making notes, and we'll go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But you have the capability, and I don't know a lot of like musicians that get up to the point where they're like doing arena tours. But obviously, I was on tour with you guys. But you played in the same show. You would play rock and roll drums. You would play essentially blues and soul, and almost like in country, and like whatever you'd want to call like that 70s era of love music, kind of like how The Promise is when you guys play it live nowadays.
That's just called sexy time.
Yeah, and so you play these all these things with different emotions. But like, I'm just giving you kudos because you can play the rock music and you can play a show of rock music. You guys would play the Sound and Fury record all the way through, and then some of those nights, depending on how the right hand of Sturgill is trying to annoy you or not, he will push you to be harder and faster, right? Like he's almost like bullying you into trying to keep up, and so then you have to pound, and it's like a physical, like you'd be soaked after those shows. So you play drums, you can play any drums, it seems like.
Well, and that's the number one thing I was told early on as a drummer. You need to learn every kind of genre. That's how you get gigs, man. Play jazz gigs and play rock gigs and play blues and funk. Sorry, my wife called. So
you can learn every genre, and then that lets you get gigs. But now, what's your to use the parlance of our times, I'd say that you're just like kind of vibing on a regular basis. For example, if people were in like a tour bus and they were smoking cannabis, and you have like a certain response, if I recall, where you recall some like anxiety when you smoke, which we'll talk about later in this. Because I think I have an idea about that. But what I noticed is that you would just kind of just naturally be like on the wavelength of whatever was happening, because that seems to be part of your professional life. Like, and we can talk about like how you play with Sturgill, or like what type of music relationship that is, but like you kind of are adapting to all these different genres of music, and I feel like that's what you do with your personality. And in my opinion, like when people are high, you are like high without being high, because like if you're listening to the same music, you feel it and it just comes out of your body, and you just be goofy, and you're like, whether you're making fun of us or you're dancing or something. That's what I've noticed. Do you think that's related to the artist in you?
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, it's funny. You basically just said things that I totally understand about myself, but I've never put into sentences or whatever. That's cool. I mean, and you said it best though. I think I probably do it personally because of my professional life or whatever with music and drums and playing with Sturgill, because to me, that's my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember my life before 8 or 9 years ago, whenever I like started to play with him, because that was such a big moment for me that I can get to be whatever, and thank God that he like lets us be that, which is cool too. But yeah, I think I'm always trying to get the vibes of what's going on, because that's what's more true than that, I guess. I think your reaction to stuff is what it is, and that's kind of, I try to do that.
What's
Some days I
interesting?
suck at it,
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a human. Everybody's a human, right? And so this is interesting because this is some stuff that is probably going to come out in other podcasts, but I've been like meditating a lot and having a bunch of realizations about that. But one of the concepts that makes sense, and it's based on the James Lang theory of emotion. William James was a philosopher and stuff and psychologist. And it basically says that the physiological state of the body is going to induce emotions. In other words, think about a moment when you have felt rage about something where you like you were in fight, you're in fight, flight, freeze, or rest, and you're in fucking fight. You have the adrenaline dump, your heart is beating, you're tight, your chest is tight, your fists are balled, you're grimacing, you're squinting your eyes, your pupils are usually like they're either dilated because they're like seeing more. So like all this stuff, all these sensations, if you didn't have those, is it rage? And so that's the idea behind it, is that like if those aren't there, but now the modern version of this is there's a little bit more additions. So there's the physiological state, social conditions that can influence like how you're going to act. Like if there's a man in there and Mallory's by herself and she doesn't know anybody in there, and there's like a guy that wants to like make sure everybody's okay, he'd almost have like a social pressure to do so, which also some men might feel like a pussy because that's not naturally their tendency. But the social aspect, especially like in Tennessee where you live, might kind of like push someone to do that, and they won't be comfortable doing it and they won't be good at it, for example.
There's a social construct of
just what it means is just whatever, all the things that result in the condition of the mind and the body when something happens elicits a reaction. And this, we can get into this if you care to go down this rabbit hole, but like you don't have a choice in what your reaction is. You can't control how you react in the same way that right now you can't control whether or not you understand what I'm saying. You just either understand it or you don't.
Well, right. Or no, right. You're right. It's funny though, to be able to, sometimes I feel like I can choose, or maybe it's just, it's manners or something.
The next part of the sentence, I think, solidifies it for you. You can't control your reaction, but how you modulate your response after that is something that you can do. And that's what you are aware of.
Right.
Even meditating, you have a little bit of awareness to know that you do it sometimes and you don't do it the rest of the time.
It's awareness, right? It's awareness of the situation. And, of course, well, and I've heard this too, this is random, but like, I think everyone likes to watch like murdery shows or listen to murder podcasts and stuff. Yeah. Why? You know what I mean? Because it's like, that's it's fucking killing someone and it's weird and stuff and it's crazy and dark. But we all, there's these thoughts that we have sometimes. Like everyone has these crazy thoughts like, God, I'd love to fucking just kill them or something. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the reaction to doing it. That's where it separates people from, normal people from murderers.
I think this will keep the term separate, is that you have the reaction and then the response. Your response can continue that reaction. And Sam Harris might call that being stuck in a prison of emotion or being lost in thought, because emotions are thoughts. And then
in a glass case of emotion.
Yeah. But the condition of whatever the fuck happens before this moment results in how you are in this moment, and therefore your reaction is something that's impulsive. Like, if you see Wally do something funny, like you don't have a choice in like being amused and like adoring that creature who fucking lives in the house.
Right.
You don't get a choice. It's either like, and then here's a weird thing, man. And you can feel free to answer this. Like, did you have a choice in loving Mallory?
No, because
it was just all the conditions resulted, and you were like, man, I fucking love this woman, right? And I want to put a ring on her finger and mine and be with her forever.
Yeah, no, it's just like a timeline of events and stages of your life and certain things when then and there, and it worked. You know what I mean? Like you can't put it into words, I guess. But that's such a cool thing though about, it's like you can't really, you can choose your response, but you can't choose your reaction to things.
Right.
Like that's so,
like you can break it down a little. so this is what is revealed to you in meditation. But the fact that, like, if you understand that or you accept it, that means now the way that you look at everything is different. And that means that if you're aware of how you're reacting to things, you can be like, I'm reacting like a fucking asshole. And you might even be like, I can't do anything about it. So for
Right.
example, you know Billy Wayne Davis.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
I
on his
love the
I'm on
guy.
a cannabis podcast with him, but he was saying something the other day. We were talking about
Probably.
women, and like we were talking about how every month a woman has a menstrual cycle unless they're controlling it with hormones, which is usually not good for them. But if they're not
Right.
controlling it, then they have a menstruation every month, and they get sick as fuck for like 2, sometimes up to 5 days. They get sick and they feel like
Yeah.
shit. And then that, like, whatever your state of brain is, if it's negative or it's hurting or it's suffering, then you're going to have a certain amount of options for how you're going to react. And then if
Right.
you're in a calm, open-hearted, like curious, maybe loving mindset, which is what is developed and can be cultivated through meditation, which, by the way, I think that meditation, is that good?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that meditation would be good for an artist. I want your feedback on that when I get all this out. But like you, I've been blown up. What was I just saying? I was
We're
about to
just
make a
talking.
point.
Yeah. You're
Billy Wayne
talking.
Davis was talking about women.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's for
Yeah.
the little breadcrumb finding. He was talking about women, and he was like, dude. And the funny thing is when I talk to women as they get older, they know it's happening, but they can't do anything against it.
Right.
Which
Right.
sometimes that is the case when the emotional intensity gets up so high, or you layer emotions, which if they are including trauma emotions, then that
Right.
stacking of emotions is only putting more shit on you.
Well,
And then,
also
yeah, go ahead.
they can sense it coming too.
Yeah.
Like before it actually happens. It's like a thing
It's an
before.
impending doom. It's like the
Right.
pressure
Right.
changes and you're like, there's a fucking tornado that's going to hit.
Yeah. It's just here it comes.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not, we're not even like, this isn't like dudes saying anything bad about women. It's just like,
No.
I have
Yeah.
maybe not empathy because I can't understand what that is, but I have my own shit that is maybe related, but it's also like the
Right.
compassion, like, man, I wish I could just take away their suffering. By the way,
Right. I mean, can you imagine like what that act like? I hate to like be, crude or like actual like blunt here, but can you imagine bleeding?
yeah, and then
I mean,
usually
it's
women are
crazy.
self-conscious about it, which I don't think they should be, because it's like, dude, you literally, which is funny because it's related to what we're saying. You literally can't help that. Right?
Right.
You
It
literally can't help
is
that you're getting sick.
what it is.
And so like they have to try and do this exercise that we're talking about where we have a reaction and then we have the awareness of that reaction, which is the awareness is there before the reaction happens, and it's just aware that the reaction is there. And then you can
Mm.
modulate your response. So you have reaction, and then whether or not you're going to modulate the response, and then you have your response.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have awareness about it allows you to at least be like, all right, I'm being this. Like I am
Right.
anxious, I'm hyper vigilant, I'm mad, I'm angry,
Wow.
irritable, I'm happy, I'm horny, I'm hungry, I'm
Right.
low blood sugar. Like that's why
Yeah.
understanding brain states can facilitate all that. But for your sake, that's all related to performance, which when I'm thinking performance, I'm thinking like those early shows you guys did at the arena where you did like 2.5 hours and you would finish with, you'd hit all the big songs. You hit Fastest Horse in Town, you'd hit fucking Brace, Flowers, and you'd hit Call to Arms at the end, among all the others, like all the soulful ones that you play too. But those are the big, really rowdy songs, and you have to
Right.
bash that shit. Sometimes Call to Arms, I watched one of them from that tour the other night. It was like 16 minutes long.
Yeah.
So
No, that one's yeah.
what do you think about your state of mind? What do you think about meditation's possible effect on your art?
Well, not meditating constantly enough like probably everybody should. I feel like in my own way I have a meditation, and it's just
Yeah.
finding and man, it's hard to put into words, just finding almost a comfort, but not even that, like just man, it's really tough to put into
Like you're
words.
saying,
But
like
in that,
a comfort in your mind and how you feel in order to allow it to happen.
well, maybe, yeah, maybe so, like, and maybe like in that one song called Armed or something like that. It's a huge, it's like 16 minutes of straight physical demanding shit, and but also you have to, your mind's working and you have to show emotion when you're completely at your physical end, of drumming, technique and stuff. But I have to focus on like the end product and a singular thing, which is like, if this is for the good of the music.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all that matters.
Do you think you're an emotional artist? Do you think you're an emotional drummer?
I've actually, I said that to a friend of mine, a bass player, a friend of mine, Todd Harrington. He plays with Chris Jacobs. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. But they're all awesome musicians. But we had a little interview thing too, and he was just like, I said, I'm an emotional drummer or something like that. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I'm just not a drummer that sits back and is like, I'm going to play this groove. Here we go. It's just, this is it, just deadpan, just like, that's it. I'm waves, man. I'm ebbs and flows. Like I'm going through so many things playing a song, self-doubt. Like there's moments where I'm playing a song, I'm like, this is great. And then other times I'm like, why did I ever fucking pick up drumsticks? Like in the same song. Like I'm going through marriages and divorces and heartaches and fucking, turmoil.
Are you talking about that's just happening, or that's what is happening in the songs?
In my head while playing the song. Like I'm having a conversation with myself while expelling noise, in a sense. It's strange.
So are you saying that you feel connected to events like that because that's what allows you to do the emotion for whatever you're doing? Is that what you're saying, or is it a different direction?
I don't know. Like, I think it's
are you thinking of literal divorces and stuff is what I'm saying?
No,
are you thinking of
literal
events?
No.
Okay, you're just giving like an analogy.
That's a metaphor for
yeah. So you have basically beautiful moments and destructive moments and negative and positive going through your mind as you're expressing your mind.
Right. And maybe about other people in my life or myself. Mainly it's about myself. And it's to me, it's like you said, though, it's like a reaction to the song. My reaction is the drums. To what I hear Sturgill playing, my reaction is the drums and what I bring out there. So it's like I'm reacting, my head is reacting to my physical body, like, is this cool?
Yeah.
Is this cool or not? And I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. And in the middle of it, I will change up things to make my mind think this is the fucking shit. Like this feels good. But also too, though, it's never a way to satisfy my own self. I'm playing to satisfy everybody else.
Yes, I know.
And it's a weird thing, but I want to enjoy it too. But in a way, that's what it makes me enjoy it, is when everyone else is like enjoying what I'm doing.
But wouldn't you say that when you enjoy it, that everybody enjoys it?
That's in there too.
It's back and forth. So the reason I bring this up is because this is like how meditation is. This is how Buddhism is. And this is how life lessons are, that they're usually these paradoxical things that are happening. I'll give you an example. And we'll come back to that one. When you have an in-breath, and then you have the moment that there's a pause before the exhale starts. Whatever that moment in between is like the gap, right? And so in any psychedelic or meditative based experience, when everything ceases to be, there's equanimity in the universe, or there's equanimity in a moment. Now think about a moment where you're crescendoing in a song where you are no longer, your brain is not doing anything, and let's say that your heart and your soul are doing it. When you feel that, it's what it sounds like, and you tell me if this is an interesting way of explaining it. Your body is the moment, and the moment is your body.
Without a doubt.
And you connect to those other weird ass motherfuckers staying on stage with you, because they're all different guys and different.
Exactly. Yeah. None of us have things in common, but we are 4 totally different fucking people.
I mean, other than Chuck, because he's so nice, but like, I mean, you guys bicker sometimes. Like,
dude,
I mean, you guys
Oh
are like
yeah.
brothers, and like the bickering does occur, but like what you guys do, and I wish that there
But
was like a way to like express everybody to their maximum potential, like to have the crescendo of
right.
like Chuck's ability,
Well,
Bobby.
but instead of that, I'll flip it and say we all have one thing in common, and that is the complete no response, no bullshit, no uh, description needed of our love of music.
Yes,
Music has no language. If you make
it has no
if
religion.
it has no
If it's
religion,
just
it
real
has no
music, there's no genre that is the school of religion for music, right?
right.
Yeah.
Music is good. Music is good music. It's not rock music. It's not blues. It's not fucking soul. It's music. It's a reaction. Music is a reaction of life. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. But that's the one thing we all have in common. I mean, we have other things in common, but the one that makes us special, I think, is the understanding of when we're in the zone, like when we hit go,
Mm.
when there's no stopping until the end, because like it's a collective journey. I mean, I'm getting chills talking about it because
Yeah.
it's been so long since I've even
know, dude.
thought about that feeling. You know, I don't have to think about it when I'm doing it, but now I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm picturing myself physically on stage, you know, over here looking at Chuck and Bobby or whatever and
Yeah.
Sturgill. I mean, it's an emotional thing. It's not always enjoyable, quote unquote, or it's not always sad or unfun, quote unquote. Like I said, it's there's waves, man. There's so many emotions, and that's
it's
what
life.
people want. That's what people want.
It's life, right?
Right.
Because
They
that's what
want
life
to
is.
see they
Yeah.
want to see us react to the song that he created, you know, and they want to see him react to the song he created. They want to see all of us react to playing it once live. That's the funny thing, like about recording and like live. I mean, recording, you can play it however many fucking times you want and be like, and then you hear it once on the record and that's it forever. It's so funny.
Right.
You know,
So,
but then live,
talk about the live experience, because I have what I'm gonna say after you say this, but like you guys.
by the way, I fucking love you, man. You're a deep motherfucker, dude.
I love you too.
It's awesome.
When we started becoming like getting closer with these tours, I knew that there was going to be a conversation like this where I could get all of this out of you, because I know what is in there. I feel like I feel like I understand for a lot of different reasons, including meditating, but also just being around you guys and seeing you play stuff live so much, which is the segue back into this. But seeing you guys play live, I've seen you play some of the same songs like 50 times. And it is fucking different every time. Every single time. Sometimes to your annoyance and sometimes to your absolute fucking ecstasy. And I know
unconsciousness.
Because you are a good metric. Everybody is, but like you're a good metric for like if you're getting into it, then you're like, oh, this fucking that means that like, because here's how I think about it: the drums and the bass are kind of like this like soul or this backbone of what is happening, and then Sturgill's obviously taking it through like the lyrical journey, and he's playing his guitar and he plays.
He's the conductor. He's the conductor.
And then Bobby has his melody and like his addition to like his punctuation of everything, and then he gets to like impose his will on that sometimes. But you are kind of like this backbone, and when you are feeling it, that means like if the soul is feeling it of this group, not that anybody else isn't the soul, but like you seem to be like you're a foundational thing, even though sometimes you're chasing Stu sometimes, or he's thinking you do that, but like you're still like you will react and you'll get it what he wants, or not what he wants. You get what you guys agree on. You guys are fighting, kind of.
It's a conversation.
What do you think is going on?
And there's never going to be a for sure. This is the formula of what we do.
Correct. And let me say this. I'm sorry. I'm so close with Sturgill, and I'm close with all of you guys, but I'm close with him in like a different way, right? And so I know what it's like from each one of your perspectives. That's why I think this is interesting. I know Chuck less of the four of you, but I'm close with all three of you. And I talk to Bobby all the time, and I feel like I've connected with Sturgill. So I feel, and I ask you guys these questions all the time. So I feel like at least the veil is lifted and I'm able to like witness it. And so I am
Yeah.
friends with him. So I know what he says about this process. And now I'm asking
Yeah.
you, and then I'm
I
going to ask
love
the
it.
other fucking guys. So go
I
ahead.
love it, man.
What do you think is happening?
Man, well, like I said, I mean, you're right. So, and I've said this before because I've been with Sturgill, come this fall, I've been with him 9 years.
Your entire adult life, you could say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm turning 29 this year. So like,
Yeah.
I was 19 whenever I started up with him. And it was a weird, God, I could tell you my whole life story, but like I dropped out of college, moved to Colorado. I got a gig there actually, playing for this theater company. And like, that was the first big thing of like, it was the first time I ever flew, you know what I mean? Like I flew
Wow.
to Colorado and I was just like, oh, this is what heaven looked like in my head. You know what I mean?
Come out to heaven and I'll Colorado, Rocky Mountain High.
Hi. Oh, there's my cat. There's my three-legged, one-eyed cat. Hey, buddy. No, man.
So okay, so you're going back you went to Colorado, you played some drums there, and then what happened?
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna come back to what the fuck you think is going on stage, but I feel like this is you're giving the foundation for it or something.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I mean, essentially, well, my point of being with him for 9 years was that out of anyone in the band, it's not a haha, I had this thing, but I have had more time with Sturgill to know what he's like on stage.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other guys. And it's not a superiority thing.
You're saying Bobby and Chuck in this case.
Right, yeah.
Because they came around roughly by the time the third record hit, but Bobby was playing on some of those records, but as far as playing,
Bobby has known him longer than I have.
Yeah.
And Chuck came about in like 2015 or 16 or so. But I've been with him since 2012.
Yeah.
And Bobby's known him, longer. But I guess as far as this group, you know what I mean? So like, yeah. So my
You're closer with Sturgill, and then to be honest, like the way that the dynamic is that you guys have like you'll hang out with someone for a little bit, and it kind of influences the music. Like sometimes you and Chuck hang out a little more. And then, but like when you guys are grooving, he gets closer to, even Sturgill, you guys will cluster around the drum set because everybody's just like smashing their face and soul with what's happening.
Well,
and then sometimes Chuck and Bobby hang out because they're Detroit guys and they kind of are on like a wavelength.
Right.
And then like,
well, that's my point. So like I'm in the show sense, I'm looking at Sturgill first and foremost. He is the leader. He's starting it out. He's pressing play. And from there, he gives me, some power to take it where it needs to go. Chuck, being the bass player, the rhythm section, and that's the thing. You get the technical aspect of it. The rhythm section, that's me and Chuck. It's a rhythmic thing. Chuck's listening to me. I'm listening to Chuck at the same time that I'm listening to Sturgill.
Yeah.
So Sturgill, he's told me, he's like, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to the drums. Like they can play, and he listens to them obviously, but he's like, that's such a physical thing. You can't deny drums. It's a language in a way. It was a language thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So he's listening to me. I'm listening to Sturgill. Chuck's listening to me. I'm listening to Chuck. And Bobby is this. So here's all of that, right? Bobby he'll come in here. They'll go over here. Then he'll come in here.
He's for the audio version of this, Miles had his hand out and he was putting his finger as Bobby up in between other fingers, like Bobby is fitting in different places. He fills
the gaps. He's the glue. He fills all these little areas, and he's a pad underneath the thing. He's psycho. He's a psycho genius, man. He's crazy. Like on like musically, it's great. So that's it. But also, so here's another mind fuck, right? So that formula that I've made up in my own head, right? I come with that to the show, and I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. And it's completely different. Sturgill doesn't give a fuck about me. And then I'm like, well, fuck you, Sturgill. And then, Chuck's like, what's going on? And then Bobby's just like, I'm happy to be here. I'm just playing, like, blah, 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 So but that's, like you said, that's human.
It is, but is that, when imagine the scenario you just described where it's like not what you expected and things, is that considered out of sync, or are you guys still in sync doing that, but you're like,
well, it fits under the category of the singular goal that we all have of the love of live music, and here's one shot at this song.
Right. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but some songs you guys feel it more,
but sometimes it's not.
But sometimes in certain songs, and it's different every night, you feel it differently, but you feel it sometimes harder and more.
Right.
So what's the difference in that happening and it not happening?
I don't know. But here's the thing too, though. Like I said, the satisfaction that we have sometimes of feeling that, this is what we love. Sometimes we don't get there. And that in itself is its own emotion. And, it has its own, like the I'm trying for this, but I didn't get there. People see that in a way. They don't think that. They're like, wow, I think I know what they were trying to do.
I want to stop you there, because I would say that the majority of people don't see any of that, because they would only see you live once, and they wouldn't know that it's wildly different every time.
Right.
We try things, and it doesn't, sometimes it's like we're not all on the same fucking page about it. And right, it's your reaction to it. So some nights I'm like, fuck it, let's, whatever, we tried it, let's move on. Like, I'm in a good mood about it or whatever. Other nights I'm like, what the fucking fuck, man? Like that, like what were they doing, or what was I doing? Like, most of all,
I've seen you mad after a show. We don't have to get into what you were mad about, but I've seen you a little cantankerous after a show, because you were kind of,
for sure. Because and like you said though, which is funny, because I don't say a word during the whole show. So when people see me, they have no idea. I mean, it's hard to get someone's, well, it's not hard. You can understand someone's emotion from how they, their body language, but actual language and saying words isn't, well, like, obviously you're going to hear someone's pissed off how they talk. So it's funny to hear that, like, they don't think that, like you said, they don't see or understand that whenever I'm having this, conniption, my brain, about stuff. And it's funny though, because it's different, some nights, I'm like, this is great. We got through.
You mentioned,
like, fucking, we missed that. And then I'll react and think about it sometimes into the next song. You know what I mean? Sometimes into the next song. And then once we get done with that song, I'm like, all right, fresh start. Here's the next song.
So one of the things you just said was that you guys try things, and I know that you do this, but what you're doing is sometimes, so you play these songs all the time, and what I know about you guys is if you play it the same fucking way every time, you're going to lose your fucking mind, because that's boring, and that's not what music is. And so I have two things that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to ask for your response. The first is like, at the kalam fi lugha al-arabiyya wa urid and eshrab shai. So I just said something in Arabic, right? But that's like, all I said was I can speak Arabic and I want to drink tea. So my point is that that's a language, right? And you didn't know what the fuck I was saying. But music and the expression of the soul, which is what I think music is, and what I think all art is, not just music, but I think the expression of your soul through the medium of music is a language. And I feel like what you just described was that, like, you're communicating through the music and with your meat body and everything, but the music is the expression in which you are talking to Sturgill and Bobby and Miles, or Bobby and Chuck.
And Miles. I view myself as a person in that thing too, though, as a quartet.
This is why I think you need to meditate.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, and then everybody kind of do something similar. Imagine the version of yourself and let's keep it mild here for mild miles here, but like imagine the version of yourself that's upset at the end of a show, okay? And what that feels like, whether it's a big show or not, whether it's a small venue or big venue. Just think about that feeling that is negative after a show, that you're upset by something and you're kind of like riled up. Think about how that feels in your mind, like what the impression it gives you. How's that feel in your face? How's it feel in your chest, in your
I'm
arms, and your legs?
give look right now. I mean,
What's
that's
that?
So here's you just said that. So let me react to that moment that I know of a
Okay.
certain. Here it is. Yeah, that was it.
So the video version of that's going to be better if you just listen to that.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
probably got the point. But go on YouTube and you'll see this, and you'll see his face. But so
Right.
now imagine the version of yourself that is in the crescendo of a song that is so meaningful that, like, even if it wasn't meaningful last night, for some reason it's meaningful tonight. Like, I know for a fact that when you guys hit the second portion of the song, I don't know what you'd call it in as far as song structure, but in the studio version of I Don't Mind, you guys clunk into something that isn't there in the moment before you clunk into it. And all of you motherfuckers, and this is the bluegrass band without Miles and Chuck and Bobby, but in this bluegrass band, you guys clunk into something. So whether you want to use that song's kind of sad. So if you want to use a cool song, or you want to talk about like doing machine gun drumming in Call to Arms, like whatever is like beautiful to you, we're like, this is why you're doing it. Now I don't even do this shit and I'm having a reaction right now, but let's go through the cascade. How does that feel in your mind? How does that, like, what is it? No, hold on. Rhetorical. I'll get through the whole body. I want you to feel it, and then you give me the response. How does that feel in your mind? What is the quality? Is it a picture in your mind, or is it just a sensation? How does that feel going down your head into your face? Is it in your cheeks? Is it doing something to the muscles in your face? How's that feel in your neck, in your chest? And then how's it feel in your hands? Because your whole body's moving when you do that. Your arms and your legs are doing this thing where everything is in sync, because everything is the moment and the moment is you. And just sit in whatever that is. And then what's your response?
My response would be none of those things. It is only two things. And if I'm sitting here, what's funny is a lot of the time in the moment of playing or recording those songs, it isn't my responsibility or emotional agenda to feel like I accomplished something.
Dude, that's insane. That's like, I feel like a lot of people would flip out about that. I love that, because.
Well, let me explain.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to write it down.
Emotional agenda to feel like I accomplished something in the moment. Like, if I'm thinking of that song recording, I Don't Mind. And you're right. What happens to me though, when I hear that song back, when it's a finished product and I'm a normal guy driving in my fucking truck.
It's probably weird.
No. When I'm driving in my fucking truck to do anything, and I put that song on and I hear that moment that you're talking about, that crescendo to this thing, it pleases my I'm sitting there driving. I'm like, okay, if I'm a blank slate, I'm an emotional blank slate. I'm like, all right, whatever happens, happens. I'm driving and I hear that. It's not a physical thing. It's an otherworldly mind. It comes in through the ears into my mind, and it's a feeling that isn't physical. It's it's an unexplainable thing. But what's funny that you said that is that on that bluegrass stuff, I'm the low man on the totem pole in a sense, because it's a bluegrass album. All these other amazing musicians, are at the forefront, as they should be in a bluegrass band, not a drummer, so like I'm sitting there with just a snare drum and I'm just applying a little bit of rhythm, just a little bit of, toe tapping feeling stuff. And
that rhythm fucking changes in that spot, dude. And that's
well, right. And
you are a part of it.
It's an emphasis.
It is a part of you.
It's an emphasis of the emotion. You know what I mean? That's what rhythm is. It's an emphasis of emotion, but it's like, and I understand, I know that point, and it's like, it just makes me like, I'm like, oh, that's like, I just want to, that's like, it hits that point. I'm just like, fuck yeah. So
I know what you're talking about, because I feel like I learned that from you guys. Not because you guys do that, but like when you guys do certain things, like there's a song called what is it? You Don't Miss Your Water.
Yeah.
There's a song called You Don't Miss Your Water. It's an Otis Redding cover, but you guys do a version of this song that is all you're really doing that is similar to the original song is the lyrics. And that's it. Like, you guys created a soulful, how would you describe the song?
It's a low down soulful song.
But it has a beautiful organ solo that Bobby, as Bobby might say, rips at a new asshole sometimes. When he does a solo good, he says, I ripped that solo on a new asshole. And it has a bass line like that in it, and it drops, and it's like, dude.
What it is it's moments. It's a simple song in terms of form, chord changes and stuff like that. In terms of form, super simple. It's a blues song. And blues and country music, they're mainly 3 chords. But the idea, the main part of why it becomes a blues or country is the soul, is the feeling behind it. It's what you do with those 3 chords. So in that moment, I'm being as simplistic as I can to the rhythm and to, how Sturgill starts the song out. and that's it. I'm reactionary to his vocals because he's the one that's leading the feeling.
Yeah, because he just does it based on how he feels, because I think all of you guys are the same in how you do this. Like in that song, and for everybody listening, you can go on YouTube if you search You Don't Miss Your Water, Sturgill Simpson, and you go to HSB like 2017. There's a San Francisco concert you did. Miles was wearing a big white cowboy hat, and it's one of the few things where there's an actual like film crew recording you guys, and the audio is not great, but like if you can just ignore the version of yourself that wants to be an audiophile and you can just hear the rhythm and everything that's going on. But it also does some good shots, not so much of you and Chuck, unfortunately, because this is how people film music usually, but you catch Bobby's solo, which you rarely ever get to see him play because he's behind his fucking toys. He's got like 6 different layers of keyboards on the Sound and Fury tour. So like he's got an organ, a clavinet, like a Moog, and whatever the fuck else is over there. And so he has a beautiful organ solo that he just like, and there's a lot of soul in that one. It was like the sun's going down over that concert. Like, you guys are outside in a park. Sturgill's wearing a scarf.
That was Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival. And that was, I remember that show specifically because that was the only second time we played it. Sorry to like interrupt, but like that was the second time we played it. The first time.
That's the second time you played You Don't Miss Your Water?
No.
The show that bluegrass what was it called?
Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. And it's insane, man. That's if you were to ask me some of my favorite shows, it's been in San Francisco, and that one in particular, and the one before that. But it's like because that's a free festival, people can come to it, and it is packed, man. It is fucking packed. But the first time we played that one was a different lineup, and we all ate some weed brownies before the show.
You did?
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to smoke, regularly in a way. I mean, as much as whatever. But it was just such it takes you through so many things. It's like sometimes I go through so many things sober that like when you add stuff on top of it, you're like, oh, it's too much. I need to hone in my waves, you know.
Yeah.
But,
I'm gonna come back to that point because that's something that we've referenced now twice. So I'm gonna come back to that.
Yeah.
Now, so you don't miss your water. You guys, like anybody listening or watching, can find that on YouTube. It's a wonderful song, but you can see that how they play that song, and that's the closest thing I've seen. That concert is the closest thing I saw to the Sound and Fury product that had decent audio. And then there's some cool videos of you guys playing Sound and Fury stuff, but it's always like a cell phone camera, so the audio is always poopy. And you have to understand that like the way that the stage is set up, the house speakers are overhead, and then all the guys have their amps around them so they can hear it. So like when people are standing in front of Sturgill filming him, you get his guitar amp blowing out the speaker. You barely hear Bobby. Right. You rarely see Chuck. And sometimes you can see you and you can hear what you're doing, but it's like the bass and the kick drum don't have the same effect when you're on like a cell phone that's where the house speakers are kicking all that bass and kick drum over your head. So
and right there, let me interject. We've all talked about this as a band, like how humbling and cool it would be to hear what people hear during a show, because it's so we've never heard what we actually sound like. Like, think
you guys
about
should
that.
You should go where Heather sits, where she controls the lights, and
right.
The light show for the Sound of Fury thing was amazing. But
like I know what you're talking about, that feeling of like of a kick drum and low end like sub hits you in the fucking chest. And
also,
then,
Miles, you've never heard it with 20,000 people in the room either, which is different than hearing it at those little fucking clubs that you did in the first mini tour. So you haven't heard it like in a packed Troubadour is different than an empty Troubadour.
Yeah.
And then a packed arena, like remember the arena in Atlanta? It was like on my birthday, the sound would push up, and this is before anybody was in it. You guys were doing sound check, and the sound would push up, and it was like a big dome on the top. It was like a hockey rink type thing, and the sound would go up and fucking swirl up into the dome. And then they had to really tweak the house speakers. And then once people get in there, that's why they're also tweaking it based on just the playlist that's playing, you know?
Yeah.
But that arena, so you've never heard that. That's interesting because you hear it from your perspective.
Right. And I've been to live shows before, and I've been humbled and had experiences at shows, you know, to where it's impacted me. You know, that's what I look for. That I wouldn't go to a show if I wasn't open to that.
You know what we should do, if assuming I'm on a tour in the future, but you should record one of the shows with the house or whatever the crew recording equipment is, and then you won't be able to. You could do it with people in it. You'd have to be subversive a little bit, but you have to fill them up. But you wouldn't want to do it with people because then they're hearing the same music. But the people aren't in there, and you go out in the middle of it, and then just turn the house speakers on, and then know that there's not people in there. But that's the closest you're going to get is if you record it.
Right, and that's the thing. But even then, it's
not the same as producing it at the same time.
It's never going to be the same as watching a live human being up on stage, you know, and not knowing like if we were to record that and then go out in the crowd, I'd be like, oh, I remember that thing that I did. I'm going to be listening for that.
Yeah. So my favorite place to sit is when I can see all four of you, because I like watching your emotion, because when all four of you, when you guys do that thing like on I Don't Mind, and you guys are doing it in the 4-piece band with the Sound and Fury setup and every setup that was before this bluegrass stuff, you guys crush, you guys grow and you change as the entire thing goes on. Remember, I used to kind of have 3 words that would describe the show, right? Like sometimes it'd be sleazy, and sometimes it'd be funky.
I went and looked at that recently, like just because I went down a rabbit hole and I saw your stuff, and I was just like, that was such a cool idea to find 3 fucking words to describe a whole thing. I mean, it's awesome
because it's different every night, and that's why I wanted to do these interviews, because the full appreciation is not there unless you see you guys often enough. And so maybe when there's better, higher output, like recording or actual, like you guys put a live show out or something, like I think that needs to happen, because you guys are not a fucking studio band. You guys do really well in the studio, and and that's a different conversation. But you guys are live artists. You guys are a live band. You guys are a jam band.
I would agree.
Eric and the Dominoes, motherfucking like 20-minute jam band sessions is what I want to fucking see in the future.
Oh God. just let me just pause right there. If anyone has never heard Derek and the Dominoes live at the fucking Fillmore, not the Fillmore, fucking, oh man, see, I've sat here and drank too much bourbon to remember the. Now I'm gonna sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
But one of the live records for Derek and the Dominoes, I haven't heard that either, man. I'll have to listen to it.
It's at the Fillmore East. Yeah, it's at the fucking Fillmore East. That's what it is. Fillmore East. Oh man, you don't know what live music is if you've never heard that record.
Let me ask you a question.
You in particular, but people also, Justin Ladd. I know your love of Rock of Ages, the band, in a different way than most people ever will know, buddy. But we'll just leave it at that.
That feeling you have when you are feeling connected to the music, that feeling you have with that, can you do that without music?
I search for it every day, but and I keep searching, and maybe that's in and of itself an answer that no. And maybe it's funny, I had a teacher in college for the 2 semesters I went to college once told me I was kind of slacking off or whatever. I was just kind of being whatever. I wasn't focused. And he was like, come to my office after class, where I was like, okay. We sat and talked, and he's like, and this was, I was first year of college, so it wasn't just music. I went to college for music. It wasn't just music. You had to get all your, other stuff out of the way. He said, music isn't everything. And at that very moment, and I know the feeling of that moment. I just wanted to be like, at that moment, I knew, I was like, okay, I'm done with this situation. because to me, it is everything.
Yeah.
Because music, man, it's a response. I mean, like we've all, bringing it back full circle. It's a reaction. We're all human beings trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing here. And
I'm smiling because I have said that probably 70 times in the last several weeks, but go ahead.
And especially now, right? We're all so aware of everything that's going on because of this stupid fucking phone, stupid social media, all these fucking things that we know every single little detail about someone, or so we think, because of how we see it. I was like, that music is a reaction to all of that. Music is a emotional outpouring. It's everything, man. Music is everything. Name one person that doesn't like music. We all put
a real cranky ass motherfucker.
Well, we put music in. We clump music in with movies, with theater, with entertainment, because it's become a business. It's become a product, right?
Yeah. It's a construct. It makes everything a construct in order to be able to sell it.
Exactly. But at the root of it, it's not that. And that's what's amazing. It's like music is just a unconscious, it can be an unconscious, it should be an unconscious reaction to the world and life and thought and meaning and everything in between.
Damn. Cut that up, Lou.
Move like drop.
Hey, when you have okay, I know how this works with Sturgill. And so I'm asking you a similar question because I just know, I'll tell you what I'm talking about with him after you answer it.
Yeah.
There are certain, the way that those songs are written, whether it's the music aspect, because out to Sturgill's credit, not to perform fellatio on him or anything, but to his credit, there's a management of the art of how the song is constructed, and then how those songs fit a greater piece of art called a record or a show. And those are different things. And I think that you guys are pretty good at that because you guys all are a part of that. So there are certain emotions that Sturgill is like basically evoking in these songs. Does that influence your emotion in a song, or do you have your own emotion to songs based on your experience with them, or is it unique to every single time it happens? Is it like different every time?
All of the above. Certain ones, yes. But then you have a song like "Oh Sarah," which is knowing, I don't want to expose, but obviously his wife's name's Sarah. Knowing them, knowing her, hearing and being a married man myself recently, and knowing, things that he's, any married person's going through, and putting that in a song or something like that, can make you, apply it to your own self. I mean, it's yeah, but specifically, yeah, that song, I'm like listening to him. That song, when he's playing it, I'm following him completely. I'm not thinking about myself or anything. You know what I mean? So there's certain songs where it's like
Hold on, go back to that. Do you think that you're doing it because that's how it is, or because you're trying to do it for him?
because he is thinking that's how it is.
That's fucking I wish he was sitting. I wish we were sitting in the tour bus for that, because like that would have been a funny interaction between you two. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
The level of Sturgill is a man. I mean, he's a brother, he's a father, he's everything. I mean, he changed my life, man. I owe everything to him. In a complete sense, I really do. But and in that sense, there's a trust, there's a respect. So when knowing what I know about what I feel about music, where we grew up, and what he, how he writes or whatever, and would write a song, there's certain songs where I'm like, I'm following you, buddy. Like I'm following you on this journey. If you want to take me on this journey with you, I'm here.
Yeah. And I don't ever speak for him or anything. And
right. Of course.
He's fairly introverted anyway, and doesn't really like that being out. But like, you can tell when he has his emotion involved in a song, and that's one of those songs, because the essence of that song is essentially like, whether it's an existential crisis or an emotional crisis or something that's going on, or stuff that is like long-term depression based things, like whatever the song could go many ways based on who is listening to it, but his soul is in that, and so in that one it makes sense to be like, let the dude have his time, because this is a reflection of his motherfucking soul about this person that is his person. So it's interesting, because it's like, that's where the respect is there. Is that sort of on the right track, or what?
That's nail on the head. Yeah, it's this means more to him, or something. This is a personal song, or deeply whatever. But you can tell, and I don't have to say that, and no one has to say anything for me to understand that. Mm-hmm. It's his tone, it's his whatever, you know what I mean, that
well, let me give you an analogy.
You can't help but react to if someone sings a sad song.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sad song, right?
That one I would argue could be like, it's sad because it's happy.
Well, no, and that's not what I mean by a sad. I wasn't referring to that.
Yeah,
one,
okay, gotcha.
The simple
it's a vulnerability though that is happening in front of everybody.
Well, like you said, the simple aspect of, you can't help your reaction. If someone hears a sad song,
they have no if it's done well, dude. Here's maybe to your point.
Right,
this is music in a nutshell. If it's done well, then you cannot help but what your reaction is to it, and it is going to be in tune with whatever that type of music is.
Here's that song for everybody. You ready? It's called "Chiseled in Stone," Vern Gosdin.
Okay.
And if you've never heard that song, you writing it down? Yeah, you are, motherfucker. Lewis, you too.
What was the name again?
His name is Vern Gosdin. VERGOSDIN. Vern Gosdin. And the song is Chiseled
in Stone.
I'm
going to bump that with Sean's here. I'm going to bump it with him when we're done.
Oh, dude. Y'all are about to cry and hug each other. I'm just saying.
So, I'm gonna take some of this stuff that we've been talking about, and I've set you up for a long con, okay?
All
Not
right.
like a gotcha, but just like a long development in how we talked about all this. You felt that self that didn't really accomplish whatever it was in the music. And then you felt that self that is feeling everything there is to feel, whatever the fuck that is with music. Who is aware of both of those selves?
It would only be me.
That's one way of thinking about it. And then if you go more macro, this is what can happen.
It would probably be everybody. But not how I would be like presenting it as this or whatever. That's just how they think I am or whatever. You
right.
know?
But now I'm going to throw something at you.
Yeah.
This, what the point of this is I'm making a case that I'm wondering, since you can't do that when you're not meditating, what if you could? You can't do whatever the fuck you're doing when you're in music, feeling and just feeling what you're doing is you're feeling a moment. I don't know if that's how you ever think about it, but whatever is going on in that instantaneous moment, there is not a past. You're not ruminating on the past. You're not worrying about the future.
It's a feeling.
You're completely feeling the moment, regardless of where you feel it, because you said that you felt it in two places, and I don't think we got to finish that statement. But whatever you're feeling is the moment. And that's why it's special, because that's what happens when you fucking achieve that in meditation, is when you are completely aware, that same word from earlier, when you are aware of what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
Like, tell me, does it ever feel like sometimes you are just doing it and you're watching yourself do it?
As in music or life?
The music.
Sure.
You said your body is doing it and it's reacting, and then your mind is like, oh, that's what my body's doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know why? Because it's a physical thing. Because no matter what, emotion or not, you can make your hand pick up something.
Mm-hmm.
You can make your hand write down something. You can make your hand hold two drumsticks and listen to someone singing a song. I mean, as what you think a song is, or whatever you're fucking, growing up all of these years of whatever you think a song is, and react to it physically without thinking.
Yeah. So you're part, in my opinion, you're a part of that. Now I'm going to explain something. It's a little esoteric, and you've had a little bit of bourbon. So let's do this very simply.
Yeah.
In my video screen right here, if you're watching on the YouTube, this is everything that can be. This is just whatever it is. And then there is something that is aware of other things. So awareness is now a circle, like a Venn diagram, inside this rectangle of my video feed. There's a circle in it, and that is awareness. From an experiential perspective of how you experience whatever the fuck this is, when you calm your mind and your body and you sit there and you observe everything, that's what meditation is. You're not doing anything with meditation. Meditation is not doing anything, and it's just becoming aware of what is already doing in front of your fucking face. And so, excuse me, in awareness, things appear. For example, vision. Whatever is in your visual field is appearing before you. Hearing, whatever you can hear. Right now, you might be able to hear something other than the sound of my voice. And by the way, you don't have a choice of whether or not you hear this or not, or if you understand it. So these things are appearing in your awareness. Awareness itself is consciousness. So awareness is just the way that consciousness is experiencing things, and things are appearing in it. Now, inside this circle, Miles, there is a Miles in your circle of awareness. There is the construct, the ideas of what it is to be Miles Miller inside that awareness. It's possible in meditation, and I believe that you're doing it when you play music, that goes away out of the circle, and awareness is no longer the self, and it is whatever the fuck is happening. And for you, that is music. What do you think?
You hit it nail on the head, and like it kind of ties in somewhat of what I tried to say earlier, is that it's not my emotional agenda to perform this task
To
whenever
accomplish something is what you said earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, to accomplish something. It's not Miles trying to accomplish something. I'm trying to accomplish the moment. I'm trying to accomplish.
Yes, that's a beautiful way of saying it.
I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to accomplish whatever it is, what it is.
So here's the thing, Miles, and this is what I want to tell you as your friend, but also like curious to see what this does to your soul and your art. I'm holding my microphone with 2 hands right now. You can do this without the sticks in your hand or the guitar in your hand. And so if you can do it at any moment, then what the fuck is that going to do for your art? Probably not much, because I think you mastered it. But whatever you're doing in that moment, can you do that all the time? And what if you could specifically?
You know what? I'll probably yes. Do I want to? Probably not. And I'll tell you why. Because like we said, if I were to go to a show and see someone having a fucking, having these valleys of emotion on stage,
yeah,
it would then in turn make me feel something. Whatever it is, it would make me feel something. I almost want to not save.
Here's the difference. I know what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
I almost want to put all my effort into the music, whatever music is. You know what I mean? Here's
the thing. Here's the big difference. Because the skill of whatever it is you are when that moment is happening in music is there. Or at least is still developing and cultivating and growing. But like it's there, and you can do that there.
You
don't. I'm saying that whatever you do when you play music, when you feel that moment, like you can do that right now. That is possible. You know it's possible because you do it all the time.
I can create an emotion.
Yes. All of this is an allegory or an analogy of life, and that's why I'm trying to connect these things. But in life, you can't just completely not be a fucking person. Even though that's the case, because if you understand that as an experience and what you are observing, everything is appearing in your consciousness. Miles Miller's consciousness, the fucking world and the universe are appearing in it, including Justin. So regardless of if I'm real or not, like the point is that I'm part of your experience, and you have to fucking deal with that for the rest of one of our lives, by the way, because
one of our lives.
Like one of us is going to die first, and you're going to have to deal with me until then, because I feel like we're going to continue being friends. But what I'm saying is that when you emulate what happens with music, and you do that in life, in other words, you implement consciousness by having awareness of what the fuck is happening. You can do that, and I'm learning to do it, but you can do that while managing that self, that person that exists in awareness. You can manage the Miles Miller meat body and the Miles Miller experience, and the experience that which is happening greater than Miles Miller. You can experience all those things simultaneously. And so you don't have to sacrifice. It's not like normal life. You can feel things, but I tell you what, man, you're feeling them. You're just not aware of it. Because no matter what happens, your body is always still a part of this moment. It's just whether or not you fucking pay attention to that.
Right.
So I don't think that you need to do it. I don't even know if it would be a performance enhancer on the fucking stool in front of the drum set, but it could be a performance enhancer in everything else.
Well, I would go further and even saying, don't even use the word enhance, because by you mean make
correct
better. But and I'm saying this for the audience in a way. it would be a performance awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not trying to make the performance, well, by making the performance better would
Miles,
mean
let me stop you. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Finish that thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
I
reacted. I'm an animal. I can't control anything. I'm an animal.
Animal. But I'm saying most people, by making, you think performance enhancing makes it better. But performance enhancing could mean, here is my raw emotion. Here is all I have to offer. Here is my complete self. It's not good or bad. It is what it is. Right. That would be enhancing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, that's all I think.
Well, here's the thing, man. I've already done in the long con, I've already done an exercise where you manifested the sensations of two opposite feelings. So I don't even need to prove to you right now that you can do that, because you've already done it in this conversation, and you may not have been aware that that was what was happening, but you thought of two extreme emotions, which granted, we kind of tempered it so it wasn't like losing a family member or something awful that happened in life. And it wasn't like the crescendo of your life, like a marriage or, whatever.
Right.
But we had two opposite ends of an emotional spectrum, and you felt the sensations of whatever that was. So what that means is that you have already proved to yourself that you can fucking change your experience at any fucking time, because you did it, and within a matter of seconds, it changed from one thing to the next. And I know I can prove this with most people, probably all guys. I can prove this because your experience can be completely different 1 second before an orgasm or 1 second after. And your experience is going to be completely fucking different.
Yeah.
Like what that is separated by fucking seconds. And I can tell you that where you step in a certain part of the world might change your life also. So the point is that it is possible, whether it's in your control or not, to completely change your experience. But I believe that you just proved to me that you can do that of your own volition, because you fucking thought about shit and it changed. Does that have any utility with your art?
Every utility. If I were to use that, man. Yes, it does. Does it have any utility? Yes, it does. Not every, but yes, because that's all art is. It's all of that.
Yeah.
It's the ability to do that. It's the ability to know, the miles, to be able to change that. It's the ability to not change that. Like we said, it's all of the above. I don't know if
let me give you an example. Let's say you run into an issue in a song. You didn't hit what you wanted to with the band, like the organism or the experience or the moment didn't crescendo like you thought it would, or so your expectation didn't meet reality. Let's just say you gotta have that slight frustration. If you could, and then you have a song coming up next, like I kind of feel like you do this anyway, because the next song, do you think you start over every song?
No, I definitely carry emotion.
Okay, here's a better question, and then I want to hear the answer to that one. Can you start over, or is it hard to?
Yes. Or is it hard to?
Is it hard to start over when you do it? In other words, is it a fucking effort to try and get out of that rut or whatever the fuck that is? Or can you just like seamlessly do it?
For me personally, yeah, sometimes, yeah, because it all depends on the specific, ramifications of that song. And if we didn't meet them, I'm going to think about them, in that next song. But what's funny though, here's some deep shit though. That next song, when I'm sitting there thinking about all that other shit that happened before, that could mean a whole nother emotion or reaction to, that specific song. So that could evoke a whole nother mindset and emotion.
Which can be a good thing, right?
Be a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, and my point could be a good thing. The anger and angst of I didn't do what I wanted to do in that other song. And we're on to this other one, but I'm still sitting there thinking about it, right? I'm still sitting there fucking thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about that current song, which means I'm reacting without thought. It is what it fucking is, man.
If you're thinking about that song, though, you're in thought. You're thinking if you're thinking about the song.
So I'm unconsciously reacting in a way.
Is it easy for you to drop back away from those thoughts if you're having if you're playing a song and you're having thoughts about the previous song? Is it possible for you to drop back out of that and go just allow yourself to be in the moment and not ruminate about the past?
Absolutely, because I'm almost seeking that, because knowing that I shouldn't be doing that, or not shouldn't, but it would be in that new song's best interests,
Which is interesting though, because sometimes that prior emotion, which going back to the theory of emotion, that prior condition results in how things happen right now. And then your reaction will be different based on the prior condition. So the fact that you failed sometimes. So now we are onto something, but what we're describing and how you can naturally or of your own accord, one way or the other, groove back into the moment. Can you do that when you're not playing music?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And then how do you do that when you're not playing music?
With deep consideration and thought and unegotistical reaction.
It kind of sounds like what you're describing from my perspective, based on the training that I do with my mind, is you're just talking about that reaction, modulation, and response cascade that we talked about. You're having a reaction, and when you have your ego out of it, you're able to identify, or you're able to have the awareness about that reaction that then lets you have a different response in one that might fit in with like the good or the righteous or like the one that you should be doing.
Because if you're talking about, we're almost talking about a solution to things, or a resolve. You know what I mean?
You can. That's an interesting word you say, because Sam Harris says it in the meditation app, that you can resolve for the next 10 minutes of this meditation session, if you were doing one, to put everything down, whatever it means to be a fucking person. Just set it down, because like whether you had the turmoil of the previous night's show that you did, or you had like a fight with Mallory, or you like you were distracted by Wally wanting to do something funny. Like whatever it is to be a person, you're like, I got to take the trash out. I need to fucking fix this thing. I need to get some new parts for the toilet. All those things are just like little, I should do these things, or I need to do these things. But in meditation, what you do is you just set all those down and you just sit and whatever the fuck this is. And here's an example of that. Look over your phone, and just look at one little thing. Put all of your attention into this little portion of what you're looking at. Put your awareness into it, and now expand your visual field to include all of the periphery, as wide as you can see. So all you just did, though, is just used vision in order to make yourself aware of what is happening, because all of that shit that you can see as you expand your periphery is always there, in the same way that like how the light is glinting off of, a glass outside when you're sitting outside having a bourbon outside in an evening in a summer day.
Right.
Like that's one of them cool things to do in the South. It's not terribly hot when the sun's going down at some parts of the summer.
Right.
But
better in the winter, I gotta say. It's better in the winter.
Right on. You should you need to come here. Enjoy the Colorado Rocky Mountain.
Colorado Rocky Mountain High.
Here's my point, Miles, is that you train your body and your mind to play music. You train yourself to do things like to be a husband or whatever. We train ourselves physically sometimes. We would stretch out in those gyms, and we do a little exercise every now and then. But how often are you training your mind for the nature of how it functions and how it can benefit you in the rest of your waking life? So if I was going to challenge you to do something, it might be, hey, what do you think about doing like a month of some meditation, and you just see what happens. And if you like it, then keep doing it. And if you don't, you already meditate when you play music. And I get that. But I'm wondering how a meditative practice that is only 10 minutes a day could contribute to everything. Because for me, it changed fucking everything with how my trauma is and my emotions and how I'm aware of them. And I'm still trying to figure that out, but like it completely changed everything. And so I see it as a valuable tool for everybody, but I'm wondering what it does for an artist. And I know what
Well,
it does for me for just the art. I've never
well,
really identified as an artist, but I write poems and stuff, and I write essays and stuff.
yeah.
I feel a
Well,
difference in doing that, but go ahead.
let me interject and say, in this stage of who I think I am, my own perspective of who I think I am, I wouldn't even call myself an artist. But maybe people perceive that as that, which is beautiful, which is awesome. What I want people to think of me, and I don't know if it matters. I'm trying for myself, man. Yeah, this is like a recorded therapy session, but it's fun. I don't know. This time in life, it's funny, man. I think I've created art. It's such a respectful thing. Like art to me isn't something that you can put a title on yourself. It has to be from someone else, because whatever you think, whatever people think is art is something that someone just put out there.
How would you define art? What's the definition for art?
Oh, man.
From someone who I think is an artist. So now you can fit in with the construct that you're an artist if you're not accepting of it yourself.
I appreciate it. Art to me is man.
You want me to throw some stuff at you and you can choose what to keep or subtract?
No,
all right.
Because it wouldn't be my art.
Fair.
Well, no, but no, art is.
You're saying a lot of stuff about what art is, and so if you don't have an operational definition for it, and then you're saying that you're not doing art, then, man, you don't even agree on the terms. So how can we fucking have a convo? What is art to you, Miles Miller?
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's an unspeakable, unnameless. You don't give any power to it. Don't give any poorness to it. Don't give any power. Don't give any weakness.
Don't give it a quality.
Don't give any light. Don't give any dark. It just is what it is, and it's a reaction to everything that you're even thinking about. Even like, what do I even think is art? If you react to what that is, if I'm going to react right now to what is art, Miles, I'm making art right now and even saying what I think. Art is the human. What's the word? Not, it's the human surrender. Art is the human surrender to life. Boom. There's another mic. I didn't use
Christ, dude. Here, okay, so.
But let me expand. Art is to every emotion that you don't understand, that you do understand, that you question, that you argue, that you want to be, or every emotion or everything that you think, that if you write it down, maybe if you put a little melody to it, and that's music, that's art. If you draw it, that's art. If you I think mowing the grass is art. It comes
I
summer.
feel like if you meditate and the next time you and I hang out, this is gonna be fucking weird. Dude, what do you think about this as a summary?
Yeah, I could go. Yeah.
Art is the expression of existence.
100%.
Because whatever can be is. You said it it is what it is, which is what the universe is, by the way.
Yeah.
And so whatever can exist and it is expressed, maybe there's some qualifying factors on how it's expressed, like genuinely or soulfully or something. I don't know what you would say. But art is the expression of existence. You said
and
that art is also
existence can even be disregard of thinking that art is
yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes. It's similar to saying your body is the moment and the moment is the body. It's the same way saying like there is no love and hate. It's like equanimity, but also like the disparity at the same time. Like it's equal and separate. Art is the expression of existence, and existence is art itself. Existence and art are like, I mean, once you get into that philosophical thing, they're synonymous.
Yeah.
And there's no separation between. So here's my point: is that it's possible for everyone what you're describing. So we just said art is existence, and existence is art, and everybody, arguably from their point of view, is existing. So how can people exist artfully?
Oh man. How can people exist artfully? Everything that you think that is set in stone, or that you've been taught, or that you've been told, or that you've been pulled to believe, question it. Not question, examine it. You know what I mean? I mean, step back and look at it. Look at the other side. Like, look at the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, and if not to get political, that's what's wrong with politics. They've made two sides. Mm-hmm. So it's the easiest thing in the world to think, well, they're wrong because I'm this. Well, what if you're not that? What if you look at it from what that is and what this is? I don't know. It's
would you say that what you're describing is some? What would be a term to kind of summarize? Is it acceptance, or is it awareness?
Awareness, recognition, acceptance, acknowledgement.
Maybe let me throw some like baseline things out there. Is it compassion?
Sure. It's understanding. It's respect.
Consideration.
Maybe more than anything.
Is it wisdom?
It's over time. I think wisdom is a product of time.
Because wisdom, and you tell me if you agree with this, wisdom is dependent on experience.
Absolutely.
It's not like job experience. Wisdom is getting to know what experience is itself.
Absolutely. Going through, being on this side, then being like, fuck that, then being on this side, then being here, then being there. That's all experience. And taking all of that in to understand and have consideration, for all.
And let me tell you this, Miles Miller, you are not your ideas. Nobody is your ideas, because ideas, they are real, but they are not like inherently a part of you. Because first off, ideas appear in awareness, in consciousness. They just appear.
Right.
And you don't have a choice in how those appear.
Right.
I've proved this many times, but like, what's your favorite song to play live? Or excuse me, no, that's a bad question. Just name any musician.
Oh man. Oh God.
You can say the first one, or you can pick one. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Any musician. My father.
Oh, okay. So do you think you had a choice in the fact that your father is who you picked right there?
Yes and no. No, meaning my first introduction of and love and respect of music came from him.
So this is a story associated with that thought that just appeared in your
Sure.
head.
Sure, but yes, meaning he's
And
fucking good.
right.
Like,
So by the way, what did you call him? What's the nickname you used to say? He's like the
he's
white.
the Stevie Wonder.
He's the white Stevie Wonder. That is cool as fuck.
Not like, like whatever, just like I'm a white guy, but like he's white, but he can bring the soul, man. You know what I mean? Like he's got it. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And so there's a reason, there's a line of reasoning in your mind that led to you to pick your father.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
But all of those reasons in your mind just appeared as they happened.
Yeah.
And if I say something that is logical to you, do you have a choice in whether or not you understand it or that you accept it? If it's logical, then you are compelled to believe in it unless you're being illogical and you're not paying attention to the thought process.
In this sense, being, my dad, my father, family, literal blood, we talk about all this, but family is its own entity, sharing the same blood probably means sharing the same thoughts, the same emotions, a lot of the same things, right?
I think you're just describing love.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You already told me that you don't get a choice in what you love.
Right.
It just happens.
It just happens. There's right. And it's unconditional love. It's family love. So my dad and I mean, he gave me the love of music, the unconditional of music. And that's so clear. I think to all these artists that I was going to say, Ralph Stanley, Keith Whitley, Levon Helm, James Taylor, Jackson Brown. I mean, that's my five right there. That's it right there. But if I think to what made me love all those things, it would be my father, my musician.
Yeah.
The one musician that showed me not all of those, but one at a time and the whole flow. But and man, it'd be funny, not funny. You think you're talking to me right now, or you are talking to me. Kent Miller, he'll put you in a ringer, man. He's fucking.
Let's do a podcast with him. Let's you and me interview him,
dude. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it.
Miles, here's what I observe out of this.
Mm-hmm.
When you picked your father as your favorite musician, I was trying to make a separate point, but what I believe is the case is that you picked him because of the love you have for him, and because everything that we've talked about tonight has been the way that this stuff has an effect on you and the way that you have an effect on it, which is funny because we keep saying it one way and then we say it the other way. And literally, your body can influence your brain, which influences your mind. And then the opposite is true. Your mind can influence your brain, and then your body. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because we keep talking about these paradoxes that go in two directions, but you have this innate love for all of this stuff that is how you connect to whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah.
And that is so important to you, but that is a part of how you love and how you love Mallory and Wally and how you love your father. And so what I understand about you in general that now I have words for is that it's just stemming from love. And whether or not there's a choice in it, it doesn't matter because you found love. And that's like an amazing thing. And you seem to be aware of it along the way. And you said that art is the human surrender to life.
Yeah.
And this in the industry is called a teaser for next time, because I think that's the end of tonight's conversation, because everybody has a lot of shit to think about, I think.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Yeah.
And now tell people either your favorite artists or what they should listen to aside from Vern Gosdin.
Yeah. Oh man.
What if you had a vibe for right now? what would it be?
Man, I'll tell you what, Justin. And it's weird to even bring up because it's almost weird. It's an album that I found randomly one night, you know, sitting here in this life that we're all living now. You know, strolling the internet for something that I can feel. I found this album called Songs from Suicide Bridge. Not saying anything about I'm not suicidal or anything. That's great. But that's just the name of the album. But the song that I heard, and I actually found it through an Instagram post of this random, you know, it shows about 10 songs, but it in the list, but it plays one song. And I just found this one song, and it's called, oh man, I can't even think of the song. But
is the record called Songs from Suicide Ridge?
Bridge.
Songs from Suicide Bridge. And here's the one thing that I love. I love records that have only come that people made one record and that's it.
Like Leaf Hound?
No one's ever,
Leaf Hound?
Leaf Hound.
I mean, the Growers of Mushroom, I think 1971. We listened to that.
Jackson C. Frank. That's another guy. Oh, buddy. This podcast is going to end and I'm still going to be sitting here bothering you. Jackson C. Frank. But that's a different record. Songs from Suicide Bridge is two guys that basically moved to Los Angeles, I think, and were singer-songwriters. You know, this was in the 80s, so they were realizing the trends of music, what they were doing.
In the chat, Lou found the record.
Yeah.
So here,
David Kaufman, is that what it is?
Kiss Another Day Goodbye, Life Without Love.
That one right there, that song, that's the song I heard.
Kiss Another Day Goodbye.
Kiss Another Day Goodbye.
Right on.
And here's the story about it. So both of them moved to Los Angeles. It was the 80s. They were, realizing the trends of modern music was not what they were doing. So they were saying, okay, here we are. We're musicians. We're trying to do this for real. But the music industry is going this way. We're going this way. Well, we might as well just go as far down this way, our way, that we can go make the saddest songs we can ever fucking think of. Think of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
A big, fucking cocaine, big, music, beats, all this shit.
Showy.
These guys were singer-songwriters. So it's acoustic guitars and their voices. That's it. So they were like, let's go down this path. Let's make all of these songs, let's create an album of all these songs. It's Kiss Another Day Goodbye. I don't think there's a person on earth who can't admit that they felt that way. If you hear that song, I mean, it's some heavy shit, man. I heard that song, and that record has stuck with me more than any other lately. So there you go.
Right on, man.
There you go.
Songs from Suicide Bridge, David Kaufman, Kiss Another Day Goodbye.
Jackson C. Frank. Check that record out too.
Miles, this is not the last time we're going to do this. I have a lot of ideas that I'm going to tell you about when we stop recording. You will be back. I love you. I will see you in this calendar year.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
This is the end of the show. Thank you so much.
Love you too, buddy.